All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing our weekly review for this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead Season 7. This is now for the mid-season finale. It is called Padre. Alright, and possible spoiler warning if you guys have not seen this episode yet for Fear the Walking Dead Season 7. And definitely with this one, I do really want to say spoiler warning because this review is going to contain spoilers. This episode has some huge changes for Fear the Walking Dead that were completely and totally unexpected to me. If you guys have seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. This one was crazy. So I don't know if they've announced exactly when we're going to get to see the second, half of this season. I think maybe springtime or something like that makes sense. Like after the winter time when we see the second part to The Walking Dead. Season 11, where it's in the winter, because that's announced for winter. This probably will be after that. And I can say that I'm looking forward to this almost as much as I am the original Walking Dead TV series, because Fear the Walking Dead has been really incredible the last year or so. Now, this first half of the season, people are kind of in the middle on it. Some of the episodes were a little bit slower. Some of them were... these last two, I think, have been pretty crazy. Episode 7 might be kind of my favorite from this first half. They did a good number of episodes that were more kind of bottled off, but I do really like this season so far. Now, this episode here, absolutely crazy. I had to take some time before doing this review with you guys because I was pretty outraged. This won't turn into a rant type of video, but I was just really, really surprised with the direction they went in this mid-season finale because, with the original Walking Dead television series, we have those shocking and we have those surprising moments like we have in this episode, but you have the comic book series, so you kind of, if you're a big fan, you've read the comics, you kind of know when certain things are going to come up, you know when certain big events might happen, and with Fear the Walking Dead, we don't have any comic book series to base it on, so we're kind of flying blind. We have no idea what could happen at any time, and we knew it was a mid-season finale, so I kind of expected we'd see a few things that were okay, but this one was really absolutely nuts. So it's basically an Alicia episode for Fear the Walking Dead. We know that we didn't get to see her much this half season, but certainly to finish things off with the first half, we get to see her a lot in this episode. It's basically an Alicia-led episode, and we have two timelines going through in this one as things progress. We have a timeline with her and Will, who we got to see in this season's premiere episode. So it's a little bit weird. You see Will is almost like the lead character for the premiere episode, sort of, him and Strand, right, of season 7. And then we see him back, but not really until now. So you kind of see Will at the beginning and then in this episode. I kind of like Will. In the first episode, I thought, okay, he's pretty good and stuff, and I almost expected to see him sort of survive on further in this season. Didn't really end up being the case in the season premiere for season 7. Will is pushed off the roof, as we get to see again in this one, and that kind of gets picked up on in this episode. It continues. We get to see Will, and he is, he's zombified, and Alicia finds him. So in this episode, we see her actually find him and, sees that, did Strand, did he do this? And yes, he did. So you have a divide between the two of them that really at this time seems like it will probably be irreconcilable. It doesn't seem like Strand and Alicia will ever be close again. If you guys remember, he goes back to the very first season. The Clarks were with him for a long time, and then also she had some episodes there, and I think it was like season 5 where, after the first half, she was not feeling too good, so he was kind of protecting her and stuff like that, and he sort of took on post-Madison almost like this episode's called Padre, almost like a fatherly type of protection relationship with her. So like kind of a surrogate protector, surrogate dad for her, that type of thing. And so now we are seeing things go absolutely the opposite way as we see this divide. She finds this out and basically declares war on the tower, war on each other, between her and Strand, to the point where it doesn't seem like, based on where we leave this episode off, that both of them can coexist or both of them can survive. It seems like either it's going to be that Alicia kills Strand or Strand kills Alicia, and whatever happens with that happens. I hope it's the first. I hope that Alicia and Morgan and the others will defeat Strand. But, it really feels like in this scenario, there are no heroes. However, Strand is quite out of control, I do want to say, because he's found this good location. He's been lucky to get it. He was lucky to find Howard when everything else was going, was being destroyed and was basically blown up. He just happened to be kind of lucky to be in a spot where it was well fortified and it wasn't disintegrated by the warhead, by the nukes that went off. And now that he has that, he's built it up and become very strong, but he has turned his back entirely on the group that he was with prior. And so, this is really sad to see this divide between them that it seems like it's going to end very badly. Now, let's get into the big part of this episode. So you have two timelines. You have the timeline with Will and what happened to her after Teddy had her locked in the bunker, which was actually really cool to see in this episode that, as a matter of fact, he actually had some people there, so she wasn't going to be locked in there by herself. Teddy had this whole thing set up to where there was a spot there for her where, she was to lead the people there, and he sort of set this whole weird situation up with her. So, and we kind of see her now in the modern or in the updated timeline to where that's kind of her group. Even though some of them have been attacking, Strand attacking the tower with the catapults and whatnot, it kind of seems like after this episode that she likely may see eye to eye with them again. They have a common enemy, and it really sets in that Strand is the enemy here for Morgan, Alicia, and the others. And it doesn't seem like that's ever going to go back. So, I like the stuff in the prior timeline, up to the point where they go into the tunnel, Herd and Will, so they go into this tunnel, and I had skipped through this episode first before I watched it through, and I saw the scene of her in the tunnel crawl space type of area without the spoiler warning, without the hand, and I was like, I was like, oh my God. But I thought it might be because I was in denial at first. So then when I watched it through, I thought, okay, maybe this is like a dream sequence or maybe something like this, because we see her in the modern timeline. It just, I was in kind of denial of it at first because it was just so brutal and everything was sort of like that I almost had thought, this is probably a dream sequence or something like this, and it wasn't, right? You end up seeing in the modern timeline and everything, and after that they did have to amputate, they did have to remove it, and then there's a question of whether or not she'll be able to survive. Will she be okay, or did the infection spread? Is it like a slow "you are ill" type of thing? I think this was a fan theory in season 5, right? You are ill because the zombie blood splatter in the face and stuff. So it's one of those types. It's funny the way it's a fan theory, and then it kind of seems like they almost used it in this season. So the question of, did she amputate it in time? Did it spread out further to where it's going to be a long-term death sentence for her, or will she be able to survive in this back half of this season? So it was so brutal to see it, and so gruesome. I had trouble even looking at it, and that's saying something for me because with Walking Dead, usually I'm excited when stuff like this happens, but this one was different. This wasn't like Merle or something, right? This was a different one to where it's in the comic book series original, Rick loses his hand. He gets a hand kind of amputated, cut off by the governor and whatnot. And they never used that in the TV series. Andrew Lincoln's Rick has always had his hand. That never changed. But in this one, we get to see that, I guess, is she like the Rick for Fear? If you go from the beginning of the series up to here, a female version kind of in some ways. She's kind of leader of this group now, and you got Morgan there too. I don't know. It's a little bit, I guess there's not exactly a equivalent of her in the original Walking Dead TV series I used to think maybe Maggie is like the closest one to her in terms of similarities, or Rosita or somebody like that. But it's definitely something that I didn't expect them to see this go this direction in this episode, or probably ever. I never expected to see this one, especially because some of their episodes earlier with the showrunner team were very like bright and sunny and like really happy and happy-go-lucky type episodes. So this one was definitely a huge shocker for me. So I guess in modern times, what does she have? She has like a hand thing that she's going to be able to use. It's not as it's kind of ugly actually though. It's not as cool as like Merle. Merle's got like the blade hand and stuff, and it's like sweet and everything. She might need to upgrade that at some point or something. And she's got that weapon that she still has, which is part of the artillery piece. I think she still has from a few seasons ago, like the signature weapon type thing. So it's really kind of devastating to look at, to see, and just absolutely brutal to see her with that. Since we followed her since the first season of the series, because if you look at Morgan, he's a crossover. Dwight's a crossover. A lot of the characters are kind of more recent, but she goes back to the very beginning of the series, like her, Daniel, and some of the others. And definitely, I'd say she's definitely the standout from the original group that's still there and still alive in Fear. Morgan, awesome as well too. But to see that happen with her, it'd be like equivalent to if they did it with Morgan. I'd be like, oh my god, crazy, right? Maybe almost even more so with her because she's female, so you don't really expect to see that. Kind of the classical one is that the guys go out and they get injured in war and stuff like that. But it's so it's very unexpected to see that in this one. In this episode. So definitely let me know what you guys thought about that with the hand and everything. And also too, that in some ways, because Strand screwed it up with Morgan, they weren't able to stop the warheads and such. It's almost like Strand is partially responsible for what's happened to her now in her current state. But wow, what a surprising direction, and definitely let me know what you guys think about this one. Do you think she'll survive out the second half? We'll probably do a predictions video for that, and I'll save it for a predictions video. But wow, what a brutal, gruesome scene to see in Fear the Walking Dead. So aside from that, the rest of the episode, I actually felt worse for Will in this one after thinking back to the premiere that Strand just threw him right off the roof just like that, because he actually does seem like he's kind of a good guy. And was good to have there for Alicia, would be a good member of their group if he was still alive. So stuff with Morgan in this one as well too, we can see. But so they want to find Padre. That's a location they want to find. However, it sounds like maybe it's a pipe dream, this type of thing. And what they'll end up doing anyway is going to war against Strand and trying to take that tower, trying to take the tower. Whether or not they'll be able to do it, I mean, ultimately, I think they probably will, but it'll probably be like, second half of the season. And maybe Strand will end up being like the season 7 villain for Fear the Walking Dead, and maybe by the end of the season he'll be killed off, something like this. Alicia might be the one to do it. I think that makes sense. Leave your predictions below for the predictions video, and definitely your reaction to how you felt about the amputation and stuff. So in terms of the score for the episode, I like the episode. It was I think Michael Satrazemis may have directed. Not sure. He's one of my favorite directors for Walking Dead, but I'm just going to give it a 4 out of 10. Because I really don't like her losing a hand thing. I don't know why. Because usually you'd be like, oh, shock value stuff. Maybe it's just my mood and kind of, what's been going on this year and everything. And last year, since then, my mood has been a little bit different with respect to the shock value stuff, which I used to really like very much. Now I don't know. It's definitely weird for me. I think I'll kind of leave it there for the review. We could probably go scene by scene, but it's like, you know what? It's just so overshadowed by this huge change for Fear the Walking Dead that it's just like, wow. But I almost feel like, for Fear the Walking Dead to work, even past season 7 for a couple more years, she has to defeat Strand and she has to survive. If they go the other route, I don't know. Like if season 8 might be the last season, it might kill it, right? Because they gotta be really careful with that, because I think everybody's probably going to be on Alicia's side. I can't imagine too many people be on Strand's side considering what's going on. But it also does build sympathy for her because she loses and everything. So want to do that. But that's the score I'm going to give it because I was kind of traumatized by seeing it and everything, so I wouldn't say I like it. It's not a knock against the episode, the way it was done or anything. It's the decision to do that I'm like, oh my God, no. So leave me your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.